Good morning. I'm Harley Schlanger from the LaRouche Organization with your daily video update for July 18th, 2024. I'm going to be talking today about what the establishment does not want you to know, about the long war that we're involved in, which is a war between two systems. It's bigger than Ukraine. It's bigger than Gaza. It's a battle for the future between two systems, one of which is collapsing. The Unipolar Order, which is based on the oligarchy's demand for a geopolitical wartime confrontation to defend their collapsing order. And it's an order based on an old neo-colonial imperial tradition that goes back 500 years, which is now being rejected by much of the world. The Unipolar Order in the West has failed, but its owners are going to cling to it desperately, including they're prepared to use war, assassination, terrorism, and coups to maintain their control. And it's a vain attempt to preserve it. Now, we still don't know what brought Thomas Matthew Crooks to fire at former President Donald Trump last week. But we do know that the lone assassin theory, which the FBI said it's now operating on the basis of that this is a fraud. There is an International Assassination Bureau. It doesn't mean the FBI deployed crooks to shoot at Trump. There are many people who are in and out of mental institutions that can be sent out as Manchurian candidates to carry out assassinations and who are patsies, as in the case of Lee Harvey Oswald. But we do know that this Assassination Bureau exists and is operational on behalf of this oligarchy. Now, we also know that the war in Ukraine cannot be won, and that the demonization of Putin and Russia is based on lies that go back to the period of 1999 and 2000, when the decision was made to proceed with the destruction of Russia, to seize its raw materials in behalf of the traditional British geopolitical doctrine of not allowing an alliance between a Central European power such as Germany with the Eurasian countries. Now, we also know that the U.S. support for the Zionist commitment to depopulate Palestine violates international law and God's law. And the support from the United States for that is another one of these examples of the U.S. defending a system which has collapsed and should be put out of business. Now, we also know that the story of the booming Biden economy is a statistical fairy tale, and yet they're going to ram it down your throat from now till Election Day for their own purposes. Now, what else is it that the leading financiers, and when I say that, think about Larry Fink and BlackRock or the City of London, what else is it that they're trying to hide from you? And I'm just going to briefly touch on 2 points. One, that there is a global mobilization underway to end the war in Ukraine and to establish a new, just security architecture for the world, which includes Eurasia, which includes South America and Africa. And secondly, there's a global mobilization for cooperation for mutual benefit among sovereign states to replace the bankrupt neoliberal financial system of central banks, the International Monetary Fund, and so on. Again, these are 2 points which are being denied, which are being withheld from your public knowledge. So let me briefly touch on these 2 points. First, the NATO summit, which just concluded in Washington, D.C. There's no question this was a war summit. This was an attempt to marshal the forces in Western Europe, Eastern Europe, and the United States, including that also ran Canada, Australia, New Zealand, trying to bring in Japan as well. To do what? To defend the collapsing unipolar order. And the idea of a global NATO, NATO means North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Is Taiwan in the North Atlantic? It stretches the bounds of credulity to say that this global organization is going to defend democracy when in fact there's nothing democratic about the policies of the European Union or the censorship in the United States. Now, what we're seeing in contrast to this is an initiative taken by the president of Hungary, Viktor Orban. Now, what Orban did was quite significant. He met with Zelensky, he met with Putin, he met with Xi, and he met with Donald Trump. On July 11th, 2 days before the assassination attempt against Trump, Viktor Orban met with him. They had a substantive meeting. And now, thanks to an interview with Orban in the Financial Times, we know some of what they talked about. What Orban said is that Donald Trump is committed to pursuing peace in Ukraine, and that once he's elected, he will not wait until inauguration to pursue a peace plan. He'll be ready to act as a peace broker immediately, is what Orban said. And in doing so, this will be coordinated with Brazil and China, coordinated with Russia. And the idea is to put an end to this fighting, which is designed to protect a unipolar order which is collapsing. So this is extremely important, and the fact that it's not being reported in the United States, in fact, what's being reported in the United States is the activity against Orban from the European Union to try to remove him from his 6-month presidency of the European Council. So that's the first point. Now, the second point is the coordination underway between Russia, China, India, and nations of the so-called Global South for a new economic system outside of the dollar. It's not essentially anti-dollar or anti-United States. It's against the corporate oligarchy that controls the governments of the United States and Europe. And what it's calling for is a new economic system based largely on the principles of the American economic system, which built the United States as a world power. This includes ample low-interest credit for physical economic production. Think about what Hamilton did with the investment in infrastructure, in modern manufacture, in trade policy to protect that. That's the American system. And low-interest credit to physical production, not to billionaire speculators to bail out their unpayable debt. That's the difference. And the International Monetary Fund system of the global order has broken down and is no longer supported by most of the world. They refuse to be subservient to an order which says they cannot develop their own economies. And so what we're seeing is a rejection of the control by corporate monopolies and a move to sovereign states working for cooperation for mutual benefit. Now, it's working. Eurasia and countries of Eurasia are experiencing unprecedented economic growth, including in Southeast Asia. And now we're seeing Africa getting in on this. This is related to the Belt and Road Initiative and to the new spirit of ending colonialism in all forms. Now, they're demanding in Africa the right to use their raw materials to develop full-set economic development for their own countries. Why would that be a threat to the United States? The answer is it's not. It's only a threat to the global neoliberal oligarchy, which is committed to sustaining an unfair colonial system. And it's not going to succeed because countries are now moving against it, and we're seeing new international institutions such as the BRICS, such as the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which are moving to consolidate economic and strategic alliance. And as President Putin has said, as President Xi Jinping has said, this is not exclusive. We would welcome the United States to join with us. That's the win-win solution that's coming into existence. And that's what the war being conducted by the global oligarchy is designed to prevent. Later today, I'll be speaking with Helga Zepp-LaRouche in our weekly dialogue about this process. If you have questions and comments for her, you can send them to me either at harleysch@gmail.com, or you can send them to questions@schillerinstitute.org. This is a war we can win, but only if you're willing to join with us. So take the opportunity to watch Helga Zepp-LaRouche today and sign up for the Schiller Institute and also the EIR Weekly Alert, which will give you the access to the information and intelligence that's being denied you by the censorship industrial project.